Welcome back to Ebb and Flow Creative Co. Today I'm going to be talking about the Paul Rubens sketchbook. I've been advertised this sketchbook for a few months now, and I just wanted to try it out. It's a pretty affordable brand, and I've never tried anything by this brand, but I wanted to give it a shot. It is kind of an interesting size. It's a little bit smaller, I would say, than like an average sketchbook. This is the landscape version, which I do love. This particular sketchbook is cotton paper and it's cold pressed. They also have hot press available, which you rarely see, especially in a more budget-friendly brand. So I'm pretty excited to try it. I will talk a little bit about what I look for in a sketchbook, and it might be different from what you look for. I'm not the biggest paper snob, so I don't really typically have a preference for cotton versus cellulose unless I'm doing something with like a lot of layers. But for the most part, cotton or cellulose paper works just fine, especially for a sketchbook. So the other things I look at are weight. Most watercolor sketchbooks are typically about 180 to 300 GSM, and I do like mine on the heavier side. I don't like it too flimsy because I like to be able to use a lot of water and really put it to the test. I look at the color of the paper. I don't want it too cream, and this is white enough, because with watercolor the white shines through, so it does really matter for that. The other thing I look for is texture. It's cold pressed, so it's going to have texture, but what I don't like is when the texture is too uniform and too fake looking, too manufactured, I guess. I have one that looks like almost crosshatch, and it drives me crazy. And then it's also like very textured, so then if you draw on it with pencil, it's really hard to deal with, and I really just find that I don't reach for that. I also look for a sketchbook that is double-sided, so both sides should be the same texture. I have a cheaper sketchbook that I bought early on, and one side was typical watercolor paper texture and the other was very flat, and the watercolor absorbed so differently that it almost made those pages unusable with watercolor, which it's fine with gouache, but not everyone paints with gouache. The way it lays is important. I rarely find a great one that lays flat, but the first couple pages on this one are pretty bad already. It's like this little cover sheet is glued to it, and so the first page is fine, but on the second page, oh yeah, okay, it came apart, so it does lay flat. I usually have to grab one of these bulldog clips and clip it flat, and then it's fine. Really, the only one that I have that really lays nice and flat is my B sketchbook, and that's because it has a spiral. And not everyone loves a spiral, but what I do is I'll paint one side and then flip it around the other way and then paint the other side to avoid the spiral. But I know a lot of people hate spirals. So other things you might want to consider are like sizes and layouts. I love a variety of size, so I'm not particular to any one size. And same with layout. Like I kind of love all layouts, just depending on what I'm feeling. Okay, so for this one, I'm gonna open a 2-page spread and skip that first page for now. And we're going to test some supplies on it. So we'll test watercolor first. And what I want to test is, will it handle a nice wash? I'm going to test most of the supplies that I use on the regular. We're gonna kind of go heavy with the water and just see how's it hold up. It's pretty thick paper, so it should do okay. This is a granulating color, so we'll test how it granulates. And I want it to be a nice wet wash. And I'm just kind of drawing out kind of rectangles that I can go in and fill another day with stuff. It's kind of my favorite way to use up leftover paint lately, especially with gouache or acrylic gouache. If I have extra, I'll just fill a page with squares and then go back later and add details to it. All right, we're gonna try a really heavily granulating color and see how the color lays. And so to really get it to granulate, we're adding quite a bit of water again. I'm gonna put a layer of just water, and I'm gonna add ink, acrylic ink, and I use this a lot. So some thicker acrylic inks can bleed through, but I've never really had that problem. But it's a good thing to test if that's something you want to use. With the new sketchbook, you should test your supplies and see how they hold up. We'll use a little bit of, this is an ink tints pencil. You add water, we'll see what happens there. We're going to try some gouache. And so far, I'm liking it. I had to crack open a few of the pages to get them to lay right, but that can happen. And the texture is not egregious. You know, it's a decent amount of texture that doesn't get in the way too much. This away for now. I'm going to try some acrylic gouache. Alright, and then I will try a watercolor pencil as well. I tried the ink tint earlier and it's pretty similar. Let's see. I don't normally use them like this, but I normally just add detail and then soften it on paintings, but it's still a fun way to test it. And then we're going to test colored pencil after this, just to see Can you get a good line? Can you? All right. Just want to see how it works. All right, and so far so good. We can try pen as well. All right, so the pen's pretty nice. I don't expect perfection because it is textured. All right, and then colored pencil. Find a darker color. All right. I'm going to let this dry and then I'll come back and do a little page using a few different art supplies. All right, I'm back. It's been about an hour and it has dried. I will say that is a possible downfall of this sketchbook, is that it does take a very long time to dry if you pile the water on. And if that can be a good thing or a bad thing, if you're mixing colors and you want the colors to flow into each other nicely and you want a long working time, cotton is great for that. It's also really wonderful for layering lots and lots and lots of layers of watercolor. But if you're impatient and you want it to dry fast, it can take a very long time. So we're going to go ahead and look at everything, and then we'll move on to the painting demo. I'm going to zoom in and move it a little bit. So the granulation shows up pretty nicely. This little spot is still a little wet, and that's okay. But the granulation, it did show up very nicely there too. The colors are nice and vibrant. I've used some cheaper sketchbooks where they dull down when they dry, and that's no fun. All right, all the gouache looks good, and the watercolor pencils look good as well. So far I'm pretty happy with it. No real complaints yet. All right, so I did, while it was drying, I sketched it out, 2 designs so I can paint them. It's probably a little hard to see, but it's a dragonfly and a kind of a daffodil. So I will get started painting on those and put it on time lapse. All right, I'm done with the painting, and so far I really enjoy this sketchbook. I like the size of it. It's pretty small and not as long as like a typical landscape sketchbook. So I'm liking it. The texture is not awful to work with, and it doesn't really show up too much in the finished piece. It does not bleed through. I didn't go back and look on the other pages, but I'm fairly confident. I am curious about the hot press version, so I'll probably be trying that one out next. But it's a pretty enjoyable sketchbook, so I highly recommend, if you get a new sketchbook that you've never used, try out your favorite supplies, see how you like them, and then do an actual painting. Even if it's something really simple, just do something that you're pretty comfortable with and see how it turns out. And that's the best test of a sketchbook to me, is actually painting in it. It's pretty good, it's pretty affordable, and it's cotton, which has its ups and downs. It's very lovely to work with, but it does take forever to dry. That is my first look at the Paul Rubens Watercolor Sketchbook. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye.